So, hi guys, sorry, I didn't realize I started recording. So, just as a recap, I am doing my field placement through a public school system over here in Connecticut. And so my placement has just sort of shifted gears since we came back for the second half. And I've been doing a lot of stuff in the integrated preschool. And I apologize if I'm moving all over the place. I am again in my car for another video. So I wanted to talk a little bit today, and I guess it's kind of another mix of topics. I want to talk a little bit about professionalism and also a little bit about relationships. So something I've realized, and I think I've talked about it a little bit before, but that when compared to other sort of, social work or whatever you want to call working in the field settings, I feel like, at least in my experience, working within a school is definitely different when compared to working in, say, outpatient or a group home or a PHP or something of that nature, which is the experience that I have. Which is another reason why I thought, getting the school experience would be so awesome. And definitely a learning experience. So, sort of the scenario that brought up my reasoning for wanting to do my video on this week is that, so again, in the classroom, so these, I know I've talked about it, but so these classrooms are mixed. So it's 8 what they consider typical peers, and then there's 8 students who have some sort of a disability. And, they can be a range. So it can be physical, or it could be some sort of an emotional or mental disorder, anything of that nature, or a lot of the kids are on the autism spectrum. So these teachers, talk about how that's not their specialty, and they sort of struggle with dealing with those kinds of kids at some point. So with that being said, the kids that it is appropriate for, they have all sorts of other kinds of services that come in. So when we talk about the use of professionalism and the use of having professional relationships, you have at times a teacher. Then you also have potentially a one-to-one for the student. You also potentially have the other paraprofessionals that are in the room, so they're experiencing this, and even if they aren't, assigned to a certain child, they're still there. They still witness what's going on, and, they try to step in and help if they can, or if they're needed. And then on top of all that, you still have the other professionals in the school. So depending on the child, you might have an OT, you might have a PT, they might have a speech pathologist, what else? So they might also have a BCBA that comes in and works with them. And then actually, so there's a specific student right now that they're even trying to get music therapy, in addition to their normal, education added. So then, on top of that level, you have to add in that these students might see the social worker, the school psychologist. Then you also have the administration level. So you have principals, you have vice principals. And then even above that, if there's something going on, you have, everybody at central office and all that. So, now that I've rambled on about that for a while, my point is, I have noticed that in a school, because of the structure, and that it's sort of that saying that the teacher sort of runs their own classroom and sort of makes it how they want it to run. So I have witnessed some of these teachers, and they might have the OT or the PT or whoever come in and give suggestions on how to do something about a specific student, and then as the intern, this person comes, they give their suggestions, they leave, and then the teacher goes back to doing it exactly as they were before, which in turn, creates the child repeating whatever behaviors that were disruptive are continuing to happen. And I guess I kind of just see this whole kind of like my way is the better way. And I guess even in the last course that I took, we kind of talked about that, where when you have multiple professionals working on something, or the same client or the same project together, sometimes you have competing, opinions on what should be done and what's the best opinion and, what should be done. So I guess sort of what I'm struggling to figure out and understand is, again, I've mentioned it, but the politics of how a school functions and, how it's slightly different. But so my question for you guys this week is, have you guys had these kinds of experiences, and how did you move past that? So, we talk about this a lot in field instruction, and, my field instructor talks to me about how sometimes as social workers we have to be a little bit more creative than other people are, or, I've talked about it before, I don't know if it's a class, but, how sometimes social work is kind of like, playing a game of, like, chess, and it's sometimes a really long, slow game, but at the end, maybe you win, so you get the outcome that you wanted. So that's kind of similar sometimes to social work. But sometimes it's hard, and I'm realizing again in the school setting that I just don't have all of that knowledge, and so I'm looking a little bit to hear from you guys as to, have you had any experiences like this where you've seen people get input and then just decide to do it their own way? How did you handle that? Or even if it wasn't you directly, if you witnessed it in any of your placements, how did you see others sort of deal with that, or give suggestions to get what the kid needs? Because I think that the ultimate outcome should be that the child's getting the services that they need and they're getting the right interventions to not have to repeat the same behavior, because when they're 3, 4, 5 years old, that's not the behavior they want to have. They want to do well, but they need to be taught the skills to know how to do well. So I've rambled on long enough. I apologize, it's a little bit long. I just feel a little bit stumped this week, so I'm looking for any input and insight you guys can share with me. I appreciate it.